It's time to focus on seniors with Helping Seniors TV. The television show designed to make you aware of senior issues and needs, as well as to acquaint you with the resources available to help you age in place and with dignity. Now, here's your host, Joe Steckler.
I'm Joe Steckler, and welcome to Helping Seniors, the television arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard County. Our show is designed to provide you with information on how to develop your own aging and care plans. Our topic today is Daily Bread. Joining me is John Farrell, Executive Director of Daily Bread. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
I also want to, now, it's our pleasure to have you, and just like I did a recent show with the Veterans Affairs Director, one of their counselors, and I said, we've been very remiss in all the television shows we've done to make people aware of the many wonderful services in Brevard County. We have never done a show on Veterans Affairs, and we have never done a show on Daily Bread, and that's our mistake. It's not yours, it's ours. But as much as you talk, you could have asked me to do a show. You know, you could have done that.
Oh, I could have.
Why didn't you?
Because I don't want to put you on the spot.
Why not now? You've been doing it for years.
Yeah, but I know you got to pick your battles, Joe. You know that.
You don't want to fight with me?
No, not today.
Okay, all right. Well, folks, I've known John for many years. We go to the same church. We go to Holy Name of Jesus Church. John is an ordained deacon in the Catholic Church. And I think your work as an ordained deacon, John, translates to the work that you do at Daily Bread. I've known about Daily Bread since it started, and I knew the founding director. I know that you fought some real battles to improve the situation. But before we get into that, I got some specific questions. The first
Let
thing
me real quick tell you, ordained deacon, it does fit in. The deacon in the church is supposed to have one hand on the altar and the other hand out in the community helping people. So this is a perfect match for me.
I know that.
Okay.
I know that. But I think people will see that as they hear your enthusiasm as we talk about Daily Bread today.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons I want you to do the show.
Well, I appreciate having you.
I really do mean that. First of all, what is Daily Bread, John?
Daily Bread was just a soup kitchen, but now it's a social services agency. And to explain that, we were founded as a soup kitchen. We feed those that are poor, hungry, and homeless every day of the year. But we also have a food bank. 80% of all the food we collect goes to other agencies. It goes out to church pantries, Salvation Army, Sharing Center, and so on. We also have a service and outreach center that is providing lots of services to those that come to us to help them get out of poverty, to get out of homelessness, to find jobs. So we center on a lot of different things that help people become self-sufficient, I think is a good term. And then we have a thrift shop. That's the last leg of the four, and that helps pay our bills. And that's on New Haven Avenue. Is
the Holy Name Jesus thrift shop more successful than yours, or how are you doing competing with them?
We don't compete, first of all. We offer services in a different part of the county than they do. I think we do well. I think they do well. And that's the way it should be.
Do you have a large number of donors that give to you?
We do. It's amazing because we get no funding other than donors and grants. We put on some events. We do some grant writing, but for the most part, it's from people. We don't get any funding from the federal, state, county, or city governments. All of it comes from private sources.
Okay. You made a comment about you give food to sharing centers, the church pantries. Where do you get the food that you give to them?
We have major food drives that we do with the Boy Scouts in November, with letter carriers in May, and all the churches in the February-March timeframe. And that's where we collect all of that food. And we will collect somewhere in total 800 to 900,000 pounds of food between that and volunteers that go out in the greater community every day of the year to pick it up wherever they can get it.
Where do you store all that food?
We have a warehouse. It's called our food bank on Morningside Drive. And we have freezers, coolers, and lots of shelving space for that food. And our partners come and they take it as they need it because they don't have a warehouse like we do. So we are a true food bank for the community. There are 20 different agencies and or pantries that benefit from a joint venture with us, a partnership.
So for years, I've lived in Brevard County since 1988. There has been almost a consistent hue and cry about the bad things of daily bread, how they are panhandlers, how they prey on people, how they ruin people's property. There might be some of that, but I think that that's probably in the minority now.
Very big minority. I mean, for the most part, people fear what they don't understand. If you got on a bus and you were sitting next to a homeless person, and we'll say it was a man, generally he'll have stubble, he'll have a beard, he's not dressed like you or I would dress. He probably smells different than we do too. And as general, we want to tend away from that situation. Or if we see someone like that in our neighborhood that we're not used to, if we live in a neighborhood that doesn't see its share of homeless people, again, we have a fear of things we don't understand. And so that then drives this other idea of they must all be bad, criminals, addicts, whatever. And it's just not the case. There are some that are, absolutely. And there are people that don't want to work, but they're in the very big minority, between 5 and 10% of the total population that are homeless or down.
You gave some interesting statistics before we started the show, John.
Yes.
I would like for you to review and go over those statistics for our viewing audience so they get a better appreciation of what you're actually dealing with and some of the good things that your ability to develop your new building and what that has added to your overall capability to serve people and sort of lessen the impact of homelessness in Brevard County, because I think that's what it's doing.
Okay.
The statistics show that.
Sure. 71% of all the people that come to us are men, 29% are women. Last year, we do a census every year, and last year, 61% of all those that came to us were homeless. 39% were not. This year, it's down to 54% are homeless and 46% are not. So we've seen some improvement there. Last year, 22% of all the people that came to us worked. This year, it's 36%. So that's improved. The median age last year was 43. This year, it's 49. So people that are able-bodied are going back to work. They're getting into housing, and we're seeing fewer of them. So those are some of the what I call active statistics. There are lots of others. We have the greatest problem we face, and this is probably between 35 and 40% of all the people I see will have mental issues. And it's everything from low IQ all the way up to bipolar, schizophrenia, paranoia. So we see a lot of that, and we're seeing more and more as time goes by. As far as what we're doing and how we're doing it, last year we fed 93,000 meals to 4,750 individuals, averaging 257 a day. This year we're down to 242 a day. So again, the number we're seeing on average every day is starting to reduce finally. A lot of that I do credit for the building that we finished in 2012. Because in 2012, we finished building the Service and Outreach Center, and that is allowing us to provide a lot more services in addition to feeding people. We have showers, we have clothing, we have hygiene items, and a lot of other services that are broken down between medical, educational, job-related, in other words, employment, that we provide. We started a literacy program. We identified 39 people that could not even recite the alphabet correctly, that now have various degrees of being able to read and write, some of them more successfully than others.
Do you have teaching classes right there at Daily Bread?
Yes, we do. We have computer classes on Saturday morning. We have AA meetings and NA meetings. We have women that come in and do HIV and AIDS testing. We have nurses that come in and do glucose and heart and all those kinds of testing that you or I might take for granted to help people. But also, we're working with a lot of partnerships. Career Sources of Brevard, for example. We have people that are on our property providing job assistance to those that come to Daily Bread instead of having to travel to Palm Bay or Rockledge to get the same services. We're doing
go over that again. What do you mean they had to travel to Palm Bay?
Career Sources is a place that people that are looking for jobs can go and get help finding jobs and apply for jobs. It's the old job bank as we used to know it.
Who manages that, John?
The county. It's an agency that takes care of that.
Okay.
But we decided that it would be better if we could provide the same services on our campus to help our people because they have a lot different situation in travel. Most of them don't have cars. So to get to Rockledge or to Palm Bay from Melbourne would be difficult. So we have some folks that we signed up as volunteers who are then trained by Career Sources to provide a lot of the same services in our facility that otherwise they'd have to go to Palm Bay or Rockledge to get.
You made a comment about...
We also, in the jobs area, we also started a job bank, and people can call us if they have jobs they want performed around their home or their business.
Okay.
Whether it's mowing lawns, moving, a wide variety of labor type related things. And then we'll hook them up with a person that we feel we can recommend, and that person will make money that day, otherwise might be unemployed, and the person will get a good job done for what they're looking for. We also made a partnership with an employment agency that was very interested in developing a day labor situation, but they did not want people out in front of their premises at 4 and 5 and 6 in the morning. So they instead came and they interviewed a lot of our population and got names, phone numbers, contact information, and listed all the things that they were able to do. So now if they get a labor situation or other situation that might develop, they have a place they can go as a resource, and they don't have to worry about the quality of the folks or the job that'll be done. So there's a lot of stuff that we've really pushed, and we're pushing different things every year based on our census and what we find as needs among our people. So job-related and homelessness are the two big ones this year.
Job creation and homeless.
Right.
Do you work with Housing for Homeless?
We do.
Cramp?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. You answered the question that I was going to ask you, but a corollary question would be, oh shoot, I'm trying to.
Well, one of the statistics we did not talk about was the elderly that we see.
Okay, that's okay.
And I think that's something we need to comment on, particularly in light of your show. About 25% of all the people that come to Daily Bread are elderly people. Elderly defined as 55 years old and older.
Okay.
8% of all the people are 65 and older. Many of them are not homeless. Many of them are people that are living on very low fixed incomes that ordinarily would trade food for medication or some other thing.
Okay.
And we find that by feeding them, it helps them with their own budgets to use money otherwise they otherwise would spend on other things. Many of them are people that are also homeless. I have a couple of women. One is 87 years old, living in her car. She's living in her car because she chooses not to make medication that otherwise would make her easier to deal with, and she could live in an apartment because she does get some money from a pension. But because of her mental illness and her desire not to conform, at least she gets fed by us and gets some other services that otherwise she would not get. And I could tell you a lot of examples, but the number of elderly folks, that's a whole new dynamic toward homelessness. These fixed low-income pensions and lack of them among the elderly are becoming synonymous to me because they're like the throwaway society, or becoming that the homeless people are now.
Yeah, well,
and I don't mean to get on a soapbox here, but it is a significant percentage of our population.
Well, we're finding the same thing. Our Kate Kaiser, our information specialist, she gets a number of calls, and I personally have talked to people, to men and women, single men that are living alone.
Yep.
They simply do not have enough income to eat and
Right.
do the other things. So they have tried to get Meals on Wheels,
Yep.
and have not been able to get Meals on Wheels. They have tried to go to the shared lunch programs, and they have found, and I have been told by them that they've been made to feel not welcome at some of these places, and that's disturbing to me, because those programs are paid for with federal and state dollars, and here you are paying with donated dollars, that you're doing something that other agencies are getting federal and state dollars to lessen the impact of those people on the local community, yet they're not doing what you're doing.
Well, our policy is not a negative one. Ours is a positive one. We help anybody that comes to us. And elderly is a growing part of our population. If I looked at the percentage 10 years ago of those that came to Daily Bread to receive a meal that were elderly, it'd be a lot lower than it is today. Today, again, elderly I define as 55 years and older, and we're looking at 23-24% of our population are in that age range.
Well, and I'm sure that comes about because of the fixed income.
Part of it is fixed income. Part of it is other issues. There are handicapped people out there, physical and mental disabilities. That plays into it. There are elderly whose children have abandoned them, and or family would have abandoned them. People that are new because their spouse has passed away, to homelessness, that are elderly, and it goes on and on and on. You know, we cannot any longer look at any group of people as a group. We have to look at them as individuals and see what their particular issues are, because there are so many.
That's exactly what I got into a discussion with the man from the Veterans Affairs. Each case is different.
Absolutely.
And when we might not think that there's help available, by simply asking the question, we often find a door can be opened.
Yes.
And that's the sad part, is to try to get people to understand there's nothing wrong with saying I need help. Janet Steiner, who works with the Alzheimer's Foundation, I've known Janet since 1988. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that Janet has always said to me, there's nothing wrong with asking a question. You
Absolutely
have to
not.
ask for help. It's okay to ask for help.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're going to get it.
No, but there's no one beyond hope, and there's no one beyond help.
Right.
If you know it.
What happens at Daily Bread, John? You've sort of opened a door on people needing medical help, dental help. Are you able to direct these people to sources of help where?
Absolutely. Brevard Health Alliance has become a partner, and they come with their medical van every Thursday and provide free medical care to the people that come to Daily Bread. In addition to that, we can refer anyone to them, and they will, as long as that person is indigent, in other words, doesn't have financial resources, doesn't have insurance, and doesn't have a primary care physician, they will sign them up and become their primary care physician and take care of their medical needs. So there is help out there, as you said. Many people don't know what I just said. They're not even aware of that. But those in need are. Those that come to Daily Bread are very aware of that medical van.
But you also have touched on the fact that so many of the people that come to Daily Bread are veterans.
Yes, 17%.
Right. In your discussions, or do you meet all these people yourself?
I try to. but I see about 5,000 people every year, at least 6 times. And 40% of those could be brand new this year. So although I try to meet everyone that comes to Daily Bread, I can't say I'm 100% successful.
My purpose and my question was knowing of the tremendous availability of veteran services that we have in Brevard County.
Yes.
Your knowledge of their availability, I'm sure that you refer the people to the Veterans Affairs, but I also sort of sense that they're reluctant to take the assistance.
That's partly, yeah, that's true.
Why do you think that?
Let me touch on a couple of things.
Okay.
We partner with everybody. Everybody that wants to help the same people we help, we want to partner with. Among them is the Veterans Administration. They come onto our campus and help those that are veterans with information, stand-down information, services information, all of those things. And they're there once a week. So anyone that is a veteran has access to VA services and administration. All they have to do is come the same day the fellow from VA is there. And we also refer our folks to Veterans Administration. Secondly, NVHS, the Homeless Veterans Support Group, headed by George Taylor. They've been a partner of Daily Bread for the better part of the years I've been at Daily Bread, probably 8 or 9 years. And they, again, provide help specifically for homeless veterans. And that touches a nerve because when I look at people that are electively homeless, many of them are veterans. Whether it has to do with their condition, maybe it's PTSD, perhaps it's the idea that they want that freedom that they found in the service, the fraternity of other men. There's a wide variety of reasons, just like, again, I expressed earlier, and many of them don't want that freedom interfered with. So they're reluctant to go into housing even. We have more housing availability for veterans than we ever had right now.
I understand that.
And there's actually room for more. But many of them don't want to do that. Many of them are content being out in the woods and in their tents and being what they call free.
But that seems to be...
But part of that, too, has to do with PTSD. Part of it has to do with wherever they are in life. It's a wide mix of reasons.
Yeah. But that's, we hear the horror stories about, for lack of a better way to say it, police raids on camps or people living in the woods. I remember one day I went out to the Melbourne mall area, and I parked my car near the end of the fence there, and I walked up and looked, and there were all kind of campfires and everything behind that mall back there.
Well, there are other areas that you'd be more surprised about. Could be your backyard, by the way.
Not my backyard.
Well,
They'd be in the water.
Well, no, not you. That's true. And you're right. But people will go wherever they're allowed. The biggest problem we have with homelessness, in my opinion, is the fact they are homeless. But beside that there's not one place a homeless person is allowed to be. I'll give you a quick example. Get up in the morning, I'm homeless. I live in someone's backyard in the bushes. Okay, now I got to get out of here before sun comes up, otherwise I'll be discovered and the police might come and trespass me, or worse. So I got to get out of here. So now I make my way off your property and nature calls. So I duck into someone else's bushes to take care of nature. And a neighbor sees me out of his window and calls the police and says, there's a lewd, lascivious character in my backyard. I want him arrested. So they come, arrest that man, and take him to jail for lewd and lascivious behavior. Something even more mundane. A fellow has a birthday, so it's time to have a beer with his buddies. So he's doing that. But because he's not allowed to be anywhere, if he has an open container, that's a charge he's arrested on and taken to jail. I'm not allowed in the parks after 7 o'clock at night. Okay, that's a safe place I could go and sleep. But because of the rules and the regulations, I'm not allowed there. So if I'm in there after 7 o'clock at night, the police come, arrest me, and take me away, and I go to jail. And on average, I'll be in jail for 33 days. That's a magic number, and the police can answer that one better than I. but this is what happens. So there's nowhere anyone is allowed to be. If I go and camp in the neighborhood, in the woods somewhere, say it's behind the mall, and the owners of that land find out I'm there, they may call the police and say, hey, look, I want those people out of there. They're trashing my land or whatever it is they're doing. And the police come out, and sometimes they do it without warning. They'll come in, and if no one's there because they're away for that day to get a meal or whatever they're doing, they may tear that camp up just to get rid of it, just to leave the message that you're not wanted here.
I can understand.
There was a judge in I think it was Rockledge a few years ago, who owned 12 acres, and he allowed those that were homeless to camp there. The neighbors didn't like it, and I don't know all the details, and I'm going to be a little off on those, but in came the police, and they demolished those camps, even though the judge allowed those people, the owner, allowed those people to be on that land. So yes, there are things like this that happen, but the bottom line is people need a place they're allowed to be. They need a place where they can be safe. They need a place where they can have lavatory facilities, maybe a shower, and that's basic stuff.
And you can do that at Daily Bread.
We do that at Daily Bread.
Okay. John, we're out of time.
Okay.
I want to thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
If people, where are you located? On Fee Avenue?
815 Fee Avenue is a kitchen. 805, the building next door, is our Service and Outreach Center.
Okay. And folks, if you have a question, call John down at Daily Bread. What's the phone number?
Or if you'd like to volunteer.
Yeah, I got to volunteer. What's your phone number?
321-723-1060.
Okay. I want to thank you, John.
Thank you,
I want to
Joe.
thank you, viewer, for watching today's episode of Helping Seniors.